All right, welcome to episode 4 of ISB's Breathing Fire podcast. I'm your host, Coach Vic, and today we've got 3 of our middle schoolers coming up from the Fiechton campus to join us here in our Rhinox studio. And what I'm going to ask before we start here jumping into questions and answers is to look at that camera and then introduce yourself, kind of tell us your name, what grade you're in, and how long you've been at ISB.
Okay, my name's Farah. I'm in 8th grade, and I've been in ISB for around 11 years, a while now.
Okay.
I'm Louis. I'm also in 8th grade. I've been at ISB for about 6-ish years.
I'm Mabel. I'm in 7th grade, and I've been here for like a year and a half.
Okay, so we've got, again, I don't know how we keep doing this, but we get a good range of guests here at the table with us. So all the way from 11th grade. Does that mean you were here like in nursery?
Yeah, like EC1. I've been here.
Okay, cool. Give me some background on kind of where you guys are from, just to kind of give the people listening context.
I grew up in Switzerland, so I grew up here, but I'm originally from Lebanon and Canada.
Okay, cool.
Well, I've been in Switzerland a total of 11 years, but that was in 2 parts. So before I moved from England when I was very young to Switzerland, and I stayed here in local school actually till I was about 4, and then traveled around Asia a bit, went to America for a couple months, and then we moved back, and that's when I joined ISB.
Okay, cool.
Well, I lived in Ireland for like 11 years, and then I moved here. But I'm half English, but I think I count myself as more Irish because I've lived there the longest. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So most of you have had a chance to live in some different places. You've gone to school exclusively here. You've been to school in a couple places.
Yeah, like 2.
Okay, fair. It's more than 1. And you've been in
About 5 schools, I'd
about
say.
5 schools.
So, yeah, about 5.
Okay. And so I know you guys know this, but for our listeners, today we're going to kind of talk about the middle school experience and what our middle school students get the chance to do, maybe like a day in the life of the middle school. And so because we've got such a varied experience background here, I'm going to prompt you with this. Each of you is going to answer this question. Give me a quick elevator speech of what middle school here at ISB is like.
I think middle school is kind of just the phase where you can try everything, because, you know, it's after elementary and it's before high school. So you have a chance to really do anything. Like, you can do the play. I was involved with the play. You can do sports. You can do, like, STUCO. You can do yearbook. So it's just kind of a time to test the fields and see what you're interested in.
Okay, cool. Who's next?
I very much agree. I think not only does it really allow you to kind of dabble in loads of different things across the board between arts, sports, leadership roles, eco-council, things like that. But I also think it does a really good job, especially in I'd say the last 2 years of middle school, in transitioning you, I think, in a fun way to getting used to more studying and getting used to the Rheinach experience. I think, I haven't transitioned to Rheinach yet, but I feel like it does, like, especially with the choice that we're introduced with at the end of our grade, I think you're starting to narrow down what you want to do and get ready to, hunker down and get studying, but in a fun way.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Like, middle school is just a time for like finding out what you like and trying things and just making friends before you go into high school, and then just having like an idea of what, high school is going to be like, and just, I don't know, it's very enjoyable just to like be there and have independence and yeah.
So hold some responsibilities, but still be okay to be a kid and have fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's cool. It's great. You being the newest to the school, what were your first impressions, your first couple of days or weeks when you got to ISB?
It's very different from like my old school. It's a totally new approach to learning and the way teachers teach and just the whole thing. So I was just like, it took a while to get used to, but I had lots of friends within the first while because everyone's so nice. I just kind of slid in easily and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. It was scary at first, obviously, because it's a new school, but yeah, I fit and quite well.
Well, I appreciate you sharing the fact that it's scary, because sometimes people are afraid to kind of bring that up, right? Like how they really feel. So it sounds like you were a little bit scared, but it was a place where that was open to receiving you and made you feel welcome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was exciting because there's lots of new opportunities, to coming forward. So.
Okay. Louis, do you have anything to add to that? Farrah, you don't really count because you've been here since the
Yeah.
beginning. So
Yeah, I'd say so. I think even between international schools, because the 3 years before I was at ISB, I was also at international schools in Asia with a very diverse culture, people, things we learn. I think ISB is still quite different from that. I feel like the learning approach specifically is a lot more about not the kind of the why and the how more so than the what, rather
Okay.
than
can
kind
you
of
give us an
going-
example?
Yeah. So I think compared to traditional maybe tests and things where if you were doing geography, for example, it would be a lot of, I know specifically the French system, it's a lot of memorizing, just knowing facts and being able to recite them on command. Compared to ISB, it's a lot of the impacts, the causes, the analysis, the deeper thinking. So I think that's creating a much more prepared kind of generation of kids that are ready to go into the world, where it's not just show up at your job and recite, 50 different countries in South America. It's a lot more about analyzing the world around us. So I think ISB does that a lot better than the different, even international schools I've been to.
Okay. Do either of you want to add to that, to the learning experience?
Well, I've been here a while, as you said, but I like it. I think it gives somebody a chance to truly understand the topics we go into. Like, it's not just dates and facts and numbers. It's more getting a deeper understanding of, like Louis said, like why, how, and just, preparing you to look deeper into everything, not just get a number and memorize it.
Right. Okay. Along those lines, you're telling us the learning is different, or unique maybe, or even just interesting. It could be, I guess, any of those words. Any of those adjectives. What's a unit maybe that you've come across or you've been a part of in the last, maybe this year, towards the end of the year now, that you really enjoyed, and what was it about that unit that you enjoyed?
Well, I don't have a specific example right now, but one point I would like to bring up is I see the units constantly evolving. So especially now at 15, because you can see, when I was in 7th grade, I saw what the 8th graders were doing, because I had quite a few 8th grade friends. And now that I'm in 8th grade, I can see how the 8th grade stuff is different and how the 7th grade stuff is different from what I did last year. And that's one thing that I think is very important, and I really appreciate it, because there's a lot of places where they're like, this is the curriculum, we stick to it. It's always these assessments, always these tests. I constantly see teachers saying, oh, this didn't work great this time. There's this part of the test where it's a little bit tedious and I don't think it adds too much. And so I find in many units are changing to become more modern, but also unique to each other compared to just memorizing facts about different subjects. Some subjects are a lot more hands-on and doing experiments, like in science, and then some more units are more analyzing text and things. So that's kind of about the units as a whole.
So it sounds like you're calling our teachers and our faculty reflective.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, they kind of look at it and they're like, okay, how can I change this or make it better for the kids? Yeah, okay. Anything to add?
One of my favorite units, I guess, is units where you can speak, I guess, and kind of share your view, but not in writing, not in written essay, because I know a lot of people, me included, find that harder to write stuff. So like INS, we just had a unit about the French Revolution, and at first we had analysis written, but then later on we got to have analysis, but it was through speaking and through like a discussion.
Okay.
So I really like that. I like how you can do the same thing, but it's in different forms.
Okay, cool.
Well, I don't really know, but like something that's really different from my old school is art and PE, because in PE, in my old school, you would just be playing games and stuff, and it would just be like we're doing this, we're playing games, we're exercising. But now it's like you're doing the different units, and you're reflecting on them, and you're coming up with more ideas on like what to add to your skipping routine. And like in art, in my old school, we just make stuff, and now it's like you're making stuff, you're doing the process on thinking about what to make, and then you're reflecting, and it's just really cool and different way of going about it.
No, that's great. I mean, I can hear you guys talking about like this inquiry cycle where you're reflective, and I know you guys as students may not like the word reflection a whole lot. So that's why you're laughing, because you hear it a lot. But clearly, you're getting that part right, and you're understanding the value of it. So teachers, good job, and students, good job, even though you don't know it. So we talked a little bit about the academic side of things, right? And then earlier you were talking about how you're part of many different things, activities or clubs or whatever in the middle school. And so kind of give our listeners and our viewers an idea of maybe what you're involved in. And we'll start with you, Mabel. What you're involved, or maybe even the section of the school that maybe helped you to come in and feel more welcome.
I'm part of like loads of different clubs, like yearbook club, and then peer mediation, and then like Stuco. So I try to join clubs and stuff whenever I can. And then obviously I do the ISB athletics every season because it's really fun. But yeah, I don't know, the whole just being your own person and going into different clubs and having independence and stuff, that was really welcoming for me, because it wasn't just, I don't know, like you're on your own, you're like part of these different groups and stuff, and it made me feel really like settled.
Yeah, good. I'm glad we can do that for you.
Well, I'm a part of a variety of groups as well. I just like Mabel. I like to take on different kind of, not projects, but different groups and different sports and after school curriculums and things, because I find that every time you join something new, you gain even more of a connection like to the people in that group. Mm-hmm. Like I am also in peer mediators, which is kind of trying to work through difficulties between students through a student kind of body.
So like when they have disagreements?
Yeah, disagreements.
Like personal disagreements?
Personal disagreements between people with their peers. It's called the Peace Through Peers program. So we're trying to, we feel that people would be more comfortable to talk to maybe a student about just small problems between people. And even though I know, I would say 80% of the people there quite well, I feel like since every time it's a different topic, like whether we're talking about, I'm also in the JEDI program, Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. Okay. And just hearing your friends' perspectives on these different things, I think you gain a real appreciation for, you get to find out who they are even more. So I'm also in typically season 1 and 3 of the sports. So I do cross country season 1, and then season 3 I either do track and field or I've started volleyball this year, which is kind of my first team sport. I think that's really well done. And then I've been in the play last year and this year, and a bit of choir and things like that.
So you take advantage of the full spectrum of activities. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I, like Mabel and Louis, I like to try a lot of different things. So I'm in JEDI. I try to do every trimester of sport. I did last year, I did cross country, basketball, and track, but I couldn't do first trimester this year, but I did basketball and track. I do the play. I've been doing it since 6th grade, and I like to try a lot of things. And I think it's nice because after a while of you being doing things, you kind of gain a sense of like community. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of my friends in the play, and this is my friends in track, and this is my friends in basketball. And so it's nice because you have a variety of people and a variety of like connections that you can make through all these different sports and activities. And
so are your like friends and connections, are we talking about like throughout middle school, like again grade level differences?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I forgot to say this because I didn't want to ramble on in my part, but I really think that in both athletics and drama, I find I have made so many friends across different grade levels. I think it really, seeing each other in the same setting really helps dissolve the boundaries that we might see in as like when you're walking through the hall there on the 8th grade corridor, you're on the 7th grade. I feel like in athletics and when you're performing, all those boundaries disappear and we're all just, people working together collaboratively.
Just one middle school.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially because 6th grade have a different building. They don't see the 7th and 8th grade.
Good point.
Yeah.
When like we all come together to play a sport, it's like we're all on the same level. We're all in middle school. We can all be friends, and you can make the connections in grade 6 for when the grade 6 come up into 7th grade. I can still know them a bit, and it might not be as scary for them to come
Right.
in. Yeah.
Well, it's welcoming. That's a word I keep hearing the three of you use. Is
Yeah.
welcoming.
Exactly.
So you keep building these. You keep taking part in what one of my good friends refers to as shared experiences, right? And that takes down some of the walls and makes things much more welcoming. You feel like a group.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good. That's great. That's great feedback for me to hear. I'm sure some of the folks listening feel the same way. You mentioned the production. The springtime is the middle school play. And this year, if I'm not mistaken, it's Alice in Wonderland, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
All right. Tell me a little bit about that.
This is our second year with our new director, I think. Mr. Dugard,
For
correct?
us, no.
No? Okay.
No. It's
Well,
the
second
third,
year
'cause
I'm
there
in.
was sixth grade.
Second year I'm in the production with the same director, who's our middle school, specifically in the middle school campus. He's our he's our theatre director. He's the theatre teacher.
Shout out to Mr. Dugard.
Mr.
Yeah.
Dugard. Come watch the play, by the way, please. 27th and 28th of.
You should probably tell them what it's about
April.
before you start
Yes,
inviting people.
that's probably a good idea. I mean, it's Alice in Wonderland, but we're putting a little bit of a spin on it, I think. It's not going to be anything you've seen before.
There's a surprise.
It's not going to be too far from what you've seen before either. But I think same with what Mr. Dugard did with our last year, which was based off Edgar Allan Poe's short horror stories. I think he has a really smart way of putting a difference in that really impacts the people that watch.
Yeah. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, maximalist this year.
Roles. What are you doing? What's happening there?
It's a big cast this year.
Okay.
Like my role. What's my role?
You can go with the cast. You can talk about your role. The floor is yours.
I'm the Cheshire Cat. So yeah. But yeah, it's cool. There's a big cast, which ultimately just means there's more people you can interact with, and there's a bigger group you can kind of get to know. So yeah, I find through the play especially, I found a lot of like good friendships that I wouldn't have normally made because grade levels or just like different social groups in school. So yeah,
How many people are we talking about? You said it's a big cast.
like 50-ish.
50-ish.
50
Yeah.
main cast members. There's
And then
always
there's always
makeup crew
makeup.
and
then
Oh, that doesn't include
that doesn't
makeup.
include
and
makeup,
props
tech,
and
like
people who make
sewing
the
people.
props. So it's probably around.
And there are a lot of this year at least. There are a lot of like different. There's costumes and there's makeup.
Sound, lights, set
It
design.
was a full-on production.
Yeah.
Maximalist.
Lots of
Everything.
hands on
There's
deck.
everything.
I'm the Mad Hatter in the play. I think specifically if we're talking about not after school, but extracurriculars, I think this year I feel like I've more easily been able to do third trimester sports and the play, because I find there's been a slight adjustment in schedules. So the play is actually sooner. So I think there's only about a month, maybe a month and a half of overlap. And so last year, I think I really struggled. I think I kind of had to drop my season 3 sport also because of injury. But it was a lot more.
Side note.
It was a lot more overlapping. Whereas this year, I find it's easier to. There's only really 2 weeks where it's quite full on with the play and the sports, which I appreciate because there's lots of theatre kids that are also really into sports.
Yeah. For sure. Are you also a part of the production?
No.
Okay,
but
so that's one thing you don't do. You do a lot of other things. Okay.
I'm not really into acting and stuff.
Okay, no worries. But now you're getting into public speaking, at least today.
Yeah.
You're doing great. Don't worry. We're getting close to the end here, and so I'm curious. I know we talked about this earlier, so I'm going to put everybody on the spot here. You're going to have to talk, Mabel. If you could wish for one thing, or add something, or change something in your middle school experience to make it better, and that's just your opinion, right? We'll never really know. It's a wish. What would it be?
Well, I have a bit of an idea that I've kind of kept for a couple of years now, and it's something that it's one of the few things that I felt that was done differently in my previous schools. I was in Dulwich College in Shanghai and Singapore, and I thought they did this, I would say, better than ISB, and that's a sense of community, not necessarily between grades, but within your grades. So there were 4 main houses, and they were all named after kind of famous, often alumni, people that graduated. And it really gave you a set of values and a team that you could root for. And it didn't change every year. You were in it for pretty much your entire school, and all like sports day and things would be between those 4, and it really created a sense of morale. And I think ISB does that okay with the homeroom system, but I think there's like, in our grade, there's 7, 8 homerooms?
Yeah, there are a lot.
So there's a lot more groups, and I feel like we do less between grades in the homerooms. I mean, there's pep rallies and things, but I find that, and also with the days where you're meant to dress up to get the homeroom points the homeroom points kind of system in general, I think is a little bit lacking in enthusiasm, and sometimes, yeah.
So is that a student thing? Is that a staff thing?
I think it's a bit of like a student thing and a staff thing, but it's kind of about how the staff set it up for the students to do it. So I think, yes, there are definitely students that could put in more effort and connect more in the pep rallies and things we do, but I think there's definitely some changes in activities and things we could do to kind of create more of a sense of community.
Okay, cool. The eye and fire is improvement.
Yep.
Need feedback to
and
do
it's,
it.
Yeah, one more point. It's not competitive at all, at least the way they did it in my school. It was like a friendly rivalship.
Okay.
It was like we have with ZIS and other international schools in Switzerland. It was really friendly, and it even created community between the groups as well.
Between the houses.
Between the houses,
And
exactly.
for the listeners who may not be sure what houses mean, I guess the easiest example is like the Harry Potter and
Yes.
which
Yeah.
house you go into, and that's the house you stay in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I think the numerical grades are something that could be changed, but I'm not 100% sure on if it would work if we changed it. But I think the numerical grades, like having a grade from 1 to 8, it puts a lot of pressure on students to get like 8. And if you get like a 4, you're like, oh, I didn't do good, I must not be good in that subject. And then you lose confidence and stuff. Whereas I think if we just had like a paragraph of written feedback, it would be more like students would take in the feedback instead of being like focusing on the point that you got a bad grade. But yeah, I don't know.
This is great. Like as an educator, you're hitting my heart here. So just get rid of grades and feedback based. Yeah, I guess it's feedback based feedback, because that's what grades are. Grades are feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except it's a number, right? And so getting rid of the number and just tell me what I need to do to get better situation.
I don't know. I just feel
Expand. Yeah, keep going.
there's a lot of pressure on students to get like a high grade, and like I don't know. I think it like makes me really stressed on like the test coming forward to like get a good grade, and when I don't, I lose confidence in the subject. But I'm not really sure if it would work just having like a paragraph of written feedback. But I don't know. It was just a thought I had because like it's something I know a lot of my friends struggle with too. So yeah.
No, that's good. It's great. Again, that's great feedback. And then we can see what's possible, right? That's why we have administrators and and people in place to see what's possible. But it's good to hear what students are thinking and how they're feeling. So again, I appreciate you sharing that.
I like the grades.
Okay.
I don't know. But I see where you're coming from. I see how they can add pressure, but I feel like it's also gives you something more to aim for. You know, like I don't know, but I also felt like that in like 7th grade, and then I kind of switched my viewpoint, and it's like, don't think of it as like a number, think of it more as like just where you are at the current moment, and then where you need to go from there, you know. But yeah, my one wish, I don't know, I would probably say connection between like teachers. I don't know.
That's okay not to know.
Louis touched on it a little with Spirit Days. I think especially in the middle school, because it's kind of an awkward stage to be in, it's hard to kind of connect with students. So you find there being Spirit Days, but oftentimes students don't do them because, I don't know, I'd say like...
Too cool?
No, not too cool, but like a little. But it's hard to connect with them more.
Okay.
And so I know I have friends in student council, and they said like they try to give ideas of like maybe a lot of Spirit Days that people really want, but oftentimes teachers say like, no, you can't do that, or that will be disruptive.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, one point I'd like to add. I feel like a lot of feedback they got the previous years were we want more activities, we want more like Spirit Days, we want more fun things to do with our friends. And I think the middle school went a little bit from, they shifted a bit from not very many but quite good quality to quite a lot of quantity now. So depending on the time of year, you can have nearly one a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they're often a bit random. So they will be seasonal. So like you might have beach wear day, but if there's not really anything, if it's just dressing up and it's not really something to do with something that might be different about the day, like it's not like we then have like a little beach party outside on the field with drinks and stuff. It's just showing up in swim trunks and a swim t-shirt. So I feel like shifting back to having a little bit more quantity than previous years, so that it's not once every 2 months or something, but making sure they still have the quality and changing the day enough for people to put in the effort and like, well, if we're gonna have this cool beach party, then let's dress up in beach clothes and things.
Okay. Are you guys sharing all these things with your Stuco reps?
No,
Yeah.
I don't find that I ever talk to my student co-reps or homeroom reps. I find they have good ideas that they share with each other and they share with the principal, but I find that they really do not have a good grasp of like what the students want. They understand what they want, and they might understand a bit from like general chitter chatter, but I don't think like they actually have what do you want, and like sitting down with each person and thinking, I think over a time, definitely, like I said, they've changed from, they increased the amount of special days, but I feel like that's kind of hard to come by, and they're often quite spaced out, the changes.
So maybe that's a first step, is getting that together so you guys can, again, you're 3 out of many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So maybe that's still a good first step. And again, it's always good feedback. It's just what you do with it. Right? All right. So we usually end the show with giving you the mic one more time into that camera. And give you a chance to give some shout outs to your friends, teachers, whoever you want to give a shout out to now that you're live and on air to the whole world. So have a think, and then when you're ready, jump on in.
Shout out to Miss Suchak. She's my homeroom rep. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Mr. Dawes. I think he's a homeroom teacher that has just made homeroom a bearable 45 minutes and not just a little bit of a slog. And also shout out to Mr. Dugard. I think he's doing wonderful things, balancing so much on his plate. He's just given up both 2 weeks of his break, his spring break, to be painting things for the play, making props, things like that. He puts in so much effort for all the students, and on top of that, he's the normal drama teacher as well, and he has to deal with an entire subject by himself. So I think he has an immense workload, and he's doing really well.
Miss Walker, my INS teacher, and Mr. Dawes, they just make class worth going to because it's a fun, happy, and bubbly environment, and just it makes class more fun than it would be with just a boring teacher.
All right, sounds good. Well, I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you sharing, taking some time to be with us. And so that's going to wrap it up for this session. So to our listeners, thank you very much. To ISB, to all of our dragons, keep breathing fire. We'll see you next time.